Hi! So today I'm going to make my homemade chicken noodle soup. Mine's a creamy chicken noodle soup because I like cream-based soups. But of course it tastes just fine if you don't want to add a milk product to yours. So I've got my chicken cooking on the stove and a little bit of chicken broth and garlic, salt, pepper, and some poultry seasoning. Pretty simple. It'll not quite boil, kind of steam. Anyway, it'll cook. And when it's done, I'll chop it up. So right now we're going to get on with the veggies. Now, if you have fresh veggies, that's great. You can use those. I was going to just point it down. I'm going to turn this phone around. Give me just a second. Okay, so what I have here are three small celery stalks. I've already diced up two, and I'm going to dice up this last one. My brood isn't a huge fan of big chunks of celery, so that's why I cut mine so small. If yours likes it, go for it, you know. But I myself, I like what celery does to the flavor for soups, but I don't want to just bite into a huge chunk of it either. So, they get it honestly. So I just dice it up really small and it cooks. This is also done mostly in a crock pot. Of course, you know, the chicken cooks, on the stove. I will use carrots and onions also for flavoring. I usually keep a bag of frozen carrots in the house just for such occasions. So that's what I did. But I pulled it out and I put it in the refrigerator last night. So my carrots are thawed. You, of course, don't have to do that. You can have them just frozen. Go straight into the crock pot. That's perfectly fine. I've done it that way before, and that works. So got an onion. And we'll get that cut up. And we'll give that a little rinse. Alright, I am not the best at dicing onions. It's mostly just because I'm just not. So I cut mine in half. It gives me a little bit better control over this round thing that I'm trying to dice up. It helps to have a sharp knife when you're cutting things. That's always helpful. And just remember to keep your fingers in. And, oh, that's going to go. Probably, I'm going to give somebody a coronary as I watch me do this. I've never, surprisingly, have never cut myself with a knife. I say surprisingly because usually I cut myself on things that you shouldn't be able to cut yourself on. Because I'm just special that way. So, there's that. Onions don't have to be quite as thin in my house. This is mostly who's going to eat this is myself and my mom. Emma May. Ethan will try it and then look at me and say, it's not my favorite thing you've ever made, because he doesn't want to hurt my feelings. And Peyton will just look at me and roll her nose, because she doesn't like vegetables on a good day. So, my onions are a little more chunky than my celery. That's my personal preference for that. Alright, so I've got my crock pot on over here. Throw away my onion trash. And this soup, I mean, it's really fairly simple. It's not very complicated at all. Let me see if I can move y'all around so you can see what I'm doing here. So I went ahead and turned my crock pot on. I'm just going to dump my veg in there. There we go. Open my bag of cut carrots. Like I said, if you've got fresh carrots, that's fine. When I use the frozen, it cooks up faster. Carrots take a longer time to cook. But at frozen, they cook faster. So, I don't have as long to wait. So if you are like, I forgot to do something for dinner, this is a quick dinner. It takes, if you're doing it on a stovetop, you can be done in 30 minutes. Crock pot, it'll be a little bit slower. So this will be about 4 hours. But you can do this completely on a stovetop. Another quick fix if you want to make this soup, but you don't want to take the time to cook your own chicken, is you can pick up a rotisserie chicken from Walmart or Berkshire's. The garlic herb blend works really well in this. And you can use that chicken for the soup and not even have to worry about the step of cooking it at all. So, I've got my veg in here. My chicken is cooking over there. And I'm going to pour in this chicken broth. Now, the chicken broth that is in there with the chicken, I'm going to add to this too, because it's going to have a lot of flavor from the cooked chicken and from the seasonings I put on the chicken. So, this won't be all that I use, but this is just going to get me started. I'm going to put just a touch of poultry seasoning, and I can add more later. But I want to wait till I get my chicken in, so we don't over season. Oh, and that's that. Let me grab my salt and pepper. Oh, I don't know where my salt and pepper went to. Ethan, do you know where my salt and pepper went to? No. I thought you put it up. Oh yeah, behind the noodles. Behind the noodle. Right in front of my face. So that's a deal. Alright, so pepper. And a little salt. And I'm going to put the lid on that and get that heated up. So I will be back when my chicken is done and this gets to going. Okay, so my chicken is done and I'm going to just give that a good cut up. I'm not making a huge pot. This'll be done. And boneless, skinless chicken breasts cook really, really fast. So sorry guys, I keep doing that. I poured in the rest of the chicken broth that the chicken cooked in into the crock pot. And I'm just going to let this hang out in that crock pot until the liquid gets really, really good and hot. I don't pre-cook my egg noodles. I put them in the pot with all of this and I let them cook that way. I really don't like soggy noodles. So I'm kind of picky where that's concerned. And this allows them to cook until they're done. And so we've just got our diced up chicken in the sink. Slide you over here. I've got my crock pot filled with my onions and celery and carrots. I'm going to put this in there. Give that a good stir. And we're going to just let that cook until the liquid gets really good and hot. Then we'll do a little taste test and see if it needs any other spices. And then I will start to thicken it. Sorry, I'll put my noodles in it because the starch from the noodles can thicken it too. And then we'll thicken it and add some cream. And then it will be good to go. Alright, so let me, my soup is getting hot. I don't know if you can see the steam coming off of it, but it's pretty hot to the touch. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my thickener to it, which is just cornstarch. And I just did 2 pretty good size teaspoons of cornstarch in that bowl. Ooh. And I have one of these little fancy whiskers. Ethan, can you come here just a second? Yeah. I didn't think this through. Can you hold this phone for me?
Oh no, my hands are very shaky.
It's fine. You'll do great. I believe in you. Don't touch the screen.
Okay.
Because you could pause it or stop it altogether. All right. Okay. So to the cornstarch, I'm going to add a little half and half. And I'm going to make a mess because that's just kind of what I do. And I'm going to mix this up really good. If you don't have one of these things,
you're just going to have to do it by hand.
Yeah, and a fork will do it just fine. I just like if you've got the tools, go ahead and use it. And then that way you don't have to worry about it being lumpy. Because, you know, that's no fun.
Yeah, there's going to be some really shaky footage.
It'll be okay.
Sorry.
I bet everybody will forgive you.
Okay.
No shakier than me trying to cook and do all of this and hold the phone at the same time. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead and put in some noodles. So this is a pretty big bag. This is a 16-ounce bag of medium egg noodles. I'm not going to put in this whole bag. I'm going to put in a little more than half of the noodles. And I'm just going to dump that right in. They will cook. If I had opened it all the way. Alright. And they will cook as... Alright guys, I'm so sorry. I had some technical difficulty. I've been making a lot of videos and my phone decided that it was just out of space. So I've spent the last hour trying to clean off my phone, get things moved over to a thumb drive, and it's just taken forever. So I had to go ahead and keep going on the soup because once you put the noodles in, you can't stop because then it's just going to get bad. So what I did is I poured in the cornstarch and half mix that I did. I poured that in and then I just topped it off with some half and half. Stirred that all up and tasted. I needed to add a little bit more garlic and a little more poultry seasoning and salt and pepper. So I did that. And this is what we have. Let me flip this. So here is our soup. It is, I guess, hold on. Okay. So it's not super, super thick. There's some liquid to it. So it's soupy. But it is good. The noodles are all done. They're tender. This kind of is my version, my quick version of chicken and dumplings. But I don't usually put carrots in my chicken and dumplings. But it has that kind of taste to it to me, except it's not as thick. But there you go. This is my homemade chicken noodle soup, and I hope y'all enjoy it if y'all decide to try it. Just remember, there's some quick hacks. If you use a rotisserie chicken, you can get that done a lot faster. There's frozen corn, carrots that you can use, and whatever your family likes, you can add in. So y'all enjoy, and I hope y'all have a great and happy weekend.